in terms of what Donald Trump actually said last night, normally what we would do in a situation like this is we'd go through all of the fact checks and everything. But one, I just don't have it in me right now. Two, I don't know that it actually matters. And three, Daniel Dale on CNN pretty much did the job for us. So here is just a little portion of his rapid fire fact checking of Donald Trump's speech last night.
He said he will always, and Republicans will always, strongly protect people with pre-existing conditions. That pledge has already been broken. He and they have repeatedly tried to weaken those protections in Obamacare. He claimed again that he banned travel from China and Europe. No, he imposed partial restrictions with many exemptions. Tens of thousands of people continue traveling over. He boasted about the COVID testing system and about his general response. Look, experts near universally say the US was fatally slow in its response, especially slow in setting up adequate testing. He said that he ended what he called a NAFTA nightmare, and he signed a brand new US-Mexico-Canada agreement, the USMCA. That agreement preserves, maintains most of NAFTA. He boasted about building about 300 miles of border wall. What he didn't say is that most of that is a replacement barrier. As of August 7th, according to official data, just 5 miles had been built where none existed before. He suggested that Joe Biden would confiscate guns. That's baseless. Biden is running on a non-mandatory buyback of so-called assault weapons. He said Democrats want to defund the police. Biden, again, has rejected that. He denounced Biden for voting for the Iraq war. Biden did indeed vote for the Iraq war, but what Trump doesn't mention is that he also supported that invasion. He said Democrats twice removed the word God from the Pledge of Allegiance at their convention. 2 individual caucus meetings outside the main primetime programming did leave it out, but it was uttered in every primetime event. Trump denounced so-called cancel culture as like an insidious left-wing thing. Donald J. Trump, has tried to get dozens of people and entities canceled, fired, boycotted, including literally last week, Goodyear.
Yeah, and I mean, that was less than half of the thing that he went through. And it's obviously all true. And it's just so much that you just have to like let it wash over you, take a sip from your drink, Anderson Cooper style, and realize that for the audience that speech was for, they don't care.
So the takeaways from the convention are these. 1, lower ratings than the DNC. For all Trump's bragging about how great his ratings were, not as many people watched it. So he failed at that. 2, the lying. So Daniel Dale does an amazing job of doing something for literally 3 minutes. At the end, he just went for like a minute and a half straight because it was non-stop. And 3, it's incoherent. None of the attacks work together. That's something that's being overlooked. They say that America's safer under Donald Trump, but that it's less safe under Donald Trump. And every argument that they're making doesn't make any sense. They're saying that, the Democrats want to let everyone out of jail, but Donald Trump proudly did prison reform, which let everyone out of jail. Like, which is it? It doesn't make any sense. And it is our job to call them out for that. And it is your job as a voter to not let him get away with it.
You're 100% right. And virtually every topic you could point to that's sort of what's going on, is that they want to have it both ways. And I know Emma made a great point about this, about criminal justice reform and Joe Biden last night on the coverage, where like you could totally attack both Biden and Kamala Harris for having a history of the sorts of actions that would make the people who are protesting in the streets really hesitant to get behind them and question whether they would actually do anything if they got into office. The issue is that Donald Trump doesn't actually want to connect all those dots because he doesn't want to seem supportive of the protest movements, because he's not. So he'll point out some of the things that they did while simultaneously saying that, but they do actually support the protest movement and they'll defund the police and all of that. But you shouldn't vote for him because he voted for the crime bill. It's just so confusing. And in a more meta sense, that whole convention was the pandemic's gone. We don't have to think about it. And look at the great job growth, ignoring, of course, that we still haven't recovered like a third of the jobs that were lost during the pandemic. So it's ignoring huge portions of what's going on and then hyper focusing on one portion of what's going on, which are the protests and all of that, but saying it doesn't matter that it's me who's president right now. Somehow that's Biden's fault.
Yeah.
And I know that a lot of people right now who do polling and all that, they're like, this is potentially a great line of attack for Donald Trump. I guess, but how does it make any sense? He's president and this is happening, and it's been happening for months and months. It's a crisis that, like many other crises of his presidency, he has done nothing to improve, and in fact has made the situation far worse in real time.
So yes, is the short answer to what you said. However, messaging, Dems suck, and messaging, Trump's a marketer. And so the policy doesn't play as it's being presented by Democrats. They're just not doing it. And an argument that you made for, and what it would take to make that argument against Trump or against Biden and Harris, as you suggest, they could potentially do, is much more complicated than saying Joe Biden is a radical left wacko. And they just want to say that and say that and say that. And one thing that's been reinforced as the media landscape has changed, as Republicans have solidified their hold on their base through Fox and massive orchestrated social media campaigns and funded right-wing extremist blogospheres, for lack of a better term, they can say things until they're true. And the way that it's filtered as a default setting for mainstream media is to present that argument at least as half of the two arguments, even though they're wildly untrue and utterly incoherent. And then what the Democrats need to do is find a way to message as concisely and effectively as Trump. Luckily, all the facts are on their side. Trump is unresponsive and doesn't take responsibility. He did not, and 180,000 people are dead. That is 90,000 Ebolas. That is 45,000 Benghazis. 45,000 Benghazis. Along the way, he was late on masks. He said we're doing too much testing. Those are things to cover up for him. But worse, let's look at his record. Let's look at Dr. Donald's medical record. His medical record is not just that, but it's disinfectant. It's ultraviolet light under your skin. We really need to amplify the voice of the demon semen doctor.
Yeah.
He is terrible at all of this. And what evidence can I point to? 180,000 people, Americans, are dead. And did this happen everywhere else in the world? No, this just happened here. You look at the EU per capita, it's like an eighth the infections that we have. It's way fewer deaths. He failed. And if he was in charge of Team America on an episode of The Apprentice, Donald Trump would be absolutely fired.
Yeah.
So let's
100%.
do that. We gotta fire him.
Yeah. And then they need to do the right messaging if we're gonna get to that.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.